10 times during the last basically 2.5 years. We've had to reduce the state budget 10 times. So I mean, it's been a 1.3, approximately 1.3 billion billion-dollar reduction in our budget, and it's certainly not an easy task to do. We've certainly already cut the low-hanging fruit. That's gone, you know, and now we're at the position where, as we move to the forefront, any additional cuts will be very difficult, and they will last for a long time. Those cuts will be long and healing, and I think that we have to be aware of that. I think the number one issue for us as members of the General Assembly is certainly going to be jobs, and the creation of jobs, maintaining of jobs. I think that's our number one priority. I think linked with that, coupled with that, certainly is the continuation of our educational program that will allow young people to become better educated so they can become a better workforce and therefore move this thing forward. And when I say thing, I'm talking about our culture and our future in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The few items that I've jotted down here that I don't want to take all of it because Jim's he's chairman of in the House. Have at it. Well, thank you. But I certainly want to leave you with plenty to visit about. But I think the next thing that is, as my colleague Jerry Rhodes said, the 600-pound gorilla in the room is the redistricting process with which we'll deal with hopefully first thing when we get to Frankfort on January the 3rd. And I'm not talking just legislative districts, I'm also talking in terms of our congressional districts. It's going to be an interesting process. I don't know where that's going. The crystal ball I have with regards to redistricting is pretty cloudy, folks, a little murky. And as you know, I don't sit on the majority side of the aisle, and I will share with you that today and tomorrow the majority in the Kentucky State Senate, my colleagues are meeting. I think at the end of the meeting, I'm very hopeful that the press will do a good job of reporting that, because I certainly don't know what they're going to discuss today. I can tell you that I think my crystal ball is a little more crystal in regards to who the president of the Kentucky State Senate will be, and I think it will remain President David Williams. That's their decision. I'd honor that decision, but that is their decision. And so I will be waiting for tomorrow afternoon to get a report, as you all will be. The next thing that I'd like to discuss quickly is juvenile justice. You know, last year we dealt with what I'd call reform of our penal codes. I think that the one thing that we left there is juvenile justice. I think we've got to do something in regards to making some minor offenses with those who are under 18 years of age. Instead of throwing them in jail first thing out of the box, I think that if they have an issue, I think that we need to counsel with them. I think we need to have the schools involved, and I think you'll find that chair of the juvenile, of the judiciary, chairs of the judiciary, both House and Senate, will put that as part of their program in this next session of the General Assembly. And the last thing I'll share with you, I'm wearing my I-69 pin. That continues to be an issue that deals with the Green River Area Development District, in my opinion, district-wide. I think it's the next large infrastructure opportunity that we have to help economically our area, and a bold proponent of continuing to move that forward. As you know, the governor, about a month and a half ago, with the help of the Federal Highway Administration, actually made part of the West Kentucky Parkway an I-69 badged highway. And so about a third of the entire route of the I-69 piece in Kentucky has been badged I-69. So that's a great, bold move forward. So we've got that to deal with. Continuing, and it's the bridge. You know, that's our big cost factor. And I can share with you that the road fund, at least in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, has continued to grow month over month from the previous year, and that's a positive thing. That means that we're selling motor fuel and we're selling automobiles, and that's good for our economy.
It's really difficult to come in today and talk about what's going to happen in the General Assembly in January. We know that we do have to do a budget. That's the one item that we have to do, and so I think that's that's going to be a really difficult task. If you heard the governor in the inauguration, he was saying that even though he's reduced the budget 10 times because he's had to, that he thinks this will probably be the most difficult budget that we have faced, and so that's certainly not encouraging. So I think when we look at the session, we know that redistricting is out there. Can we do redistricting and do a budget and then tackle all of the other project things that we have to do? I don't know. I would have hoped that we would be working right now on redistricting in a special session, but the President of the Senate chose not to do that. I think we pretty well got ours worked out in the House side. I advised the Speaker that my advice to him would be to send a message to the President of the Senate that if we're going to do redistricting, it's going to have to be done in the first couple of weeks of the session. If we cannot get it done then, we're not going to take redistricting, an item that should have been done in a special session, and take time away from other important issues like the budget and all the other things and deal with that. And I certainly would not move the filing deadline. I think if we don't get redistricting done in the first two of these sessions, we ought to run this year in our old districts and put that off to a special session. One of the things we talk about when we talk about the budget is that the budget is kind of what it is. You get X amount of dollars come in, we have to balance the budget, and sometimes we can work on. A lot of people don't want to talk about taxes now; they want to talk about about revenues. And I think there's some things that we can do to work on revenues that don't include raising taxes, but I think they have to be done with comprehensive tax reform. And we've had some governors in the past that tried to do some what they would call tax reform, but really what happened is they set a goal. They looked out there and said, okay, we need $200 million, and how are we going to get that? Well, we could raise this tax here. We know in order to do that, we got to lower something over here, but they did it in a way that it was just piecemeal, and it was aimed at getting a couple $100 million or however many million that they needed. And that's not true comprehensive tax reform, where you put everything on the table and you decide, what is it that's going to be fair. There's some things that we have to understand, and a lot of people don't understand this, that every tax increase automatically means more revenue to the General Assembly. It's not necessarily works that way. Sometimes when you raise a tax, you actually get less of it. I think people saw that in the Northeast several years ago when they put a tax on the boating industry, on really high-priced yachts and boats. And what happened was they pretty much destroyed a whole industry there, and people were laid off, and they actually got less money in than they did before. And I think there's some tax reductions that you can take that will actually stimulate the economy, bring in more money, cause people to invest more and create jobs. So we have to have be able to look at all those things and put everything on the table. Probably, again, not something that we can do in a regular session when you have redistricting and when you have a budget. So I would hope that we could do that in a special session, and I think that will only get done if we have leadership from the governor. I think we can all agree that this governor has done a very good job of managing a budget that's really been tough, but in his first term he wasn't known to really tackle things in a very bold way, and I hope that we do see that when this is his final term, that he will be bold and he will tackle tax reform and some of those issues and provide the leadership that only he can do to get that done. And that would be my encouragement for him to do that. Because I think one of the things that happens is that I have been there, we started my 18th year in January, And we come back every year and we say, we did not raise your taxes. And yet, what happens is, in order for us to get the budget together, we go out here and we rob every fund that's there that has a little money in it, and we take that money back into the general fund and get the piece of the budget together. And then what happens is that a lot of that money was licensing fees for nurses or engineers or insurance agents or whatever, and then they have to raise their licensing fees, or they have to raise the fees to the insurance companies that sponsor agents or whatever. And in a way, it really is a tax increase, because and you're actually taxing a very small segment in a very unfair way, and that's not really fair. We're going to have to stop doing that, because what's happened is, I think most of you know that we have a high-risk pool in Kentucky that was funded with money from the tobacco settlement funds, and what's happened is every year we've gone in there and we've taken that money out of the high-risk pool. That's money that needs to be there someday to fund future claims that these people are going to have. And we've actually put a couple of assessments on some insurance companies, because they actually pay a percent into that to help that fund. We've actually raised the premium on the folks in the fund, so that's a tax increase to them. And what's happened now is, if Obamacare really does go through, and at some point we have a national pool for these people to go into, then it really won't matter so much that we have robbed the high-risk pool. But if something happens and the Obamacare is ruled unconstitutional and that thing fails, then we have taken money from our high-risk pool, and that money will not be there. And I don't know what we're going to do, other than maybe raise taxes or something to put that money back in there. We've taken money from the underground storage tank fund. Again, there's just numerous accounts that we've taken money out of to balance the budget. And to me, it's kind of deceitful to say we're not raising your taxes, but we're spending more than we're taking in, because we're getting this money from all these other sources. And I hope that we do work on that, because I think we can do much better than that. A couple things that are smaller issues I think we probably need to address. We talked a little bit about infrastructure and bridges. We are for the I-69 project. One of the problems in getting that in the near future is that it does require the bridges across the Ohio River. There are two bridges I think they're wanting to get in Louisville. There's the bridge that goes into Cincinnati that you may have heard right before the president came in. A big chunk of that failed. It's one bridge on top of the other. And then, of course, you have a bridge over I-64 now over going to Louisville that's been closed down, and so we're having to do a lot of repairs there. And so it's very difficult, even though because gasoline prices are up, the tax revenues are up, but it's still going to be very tough to do the things that we really need to do as far as bridges are concerned.